Hey everyone, and welcome back to the VHS Tapes podcast. And today we're doing the Phantom Menace discussion. So I guess we're just kicking off on the movies. We did 2 episodes before on Star Wars stuff, but now we're into the movies.
Yes, we're into the real shit now.
Oh, daring! So the shows aren't real to you, huh? Nice. You're one of those Star Wars fans. You can't just pick and choose what's canon and what's not.
Aren't you the gatekeeper?
Ironic.
Ironic. Fitting that we say ironic specifically. We are talking about the Phantom Menace.
Mhm.
And Palpatine's in it. So, to start off, my first note. Force Run looks funny.
Yeah, it's literally only in this movie.
Yeah, it looks really wacky when they do it. What do you think? Any notes from you?
Give me a few minutes.
Oh, okay. I'll rattle off one while you're going. Jedi like to use their presence to intimidate others. For instance, with Jar Jar, when Jar Jar does not want to go back to his place where I forgot what the fuck it's called, and they just kind of like encroach up on him and use their stature to kind of intimidate him into kind of taking him back. It just goes to show how absolutely no regard Qui-Gon Jinn has for the code.
I mean, you got Obi-Wan doing it too.
Exactly. But where do you think he gets it from?
Yeah. I mean, they're just kind of doing it because they're like, we need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I know. But at
And
the same
I feel like
sorry, what?
I feel like there's like a little tiny bit of Jedi mind tricking in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like it was almost like a coercion.
Yeah.
Number 3. Oh, you got one?
Yeah. So the Neomodians, like the first time you see them, I love how they're you just instantly get the sense that they're 100% evil, but simultaneously completely pathetic. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're not even threats really. They're just fucking losers.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
How Obi-Wan at the beginning is just like, I sense something elsewhere elusive. It's like he's basically, it's up to interpretation. You could think he's either just sensing like, okay, stuff's up very soon is about to go down, or you could think in another sense because of something that happens in episode 2 where he like senses Anakin will be the death of him like 20 years before it happens. Over 20 years actually. Is you could think like he's actually sensing like the whole Jedi purge like coming in like what 13 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
So it's amusing to think about. Obi-Wan gets like feelings like way too early for it to do anything.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, he just had to watch it unfold slowly in front of his eyes.
Yeah.
Here's one of my notes. Boss Nass is beautiful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just thought that was he's like in a couple minutes of the movie, but he acts so strangely. It's very fascinating.
Yeah, he's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Plus with his thing that he does.
Exactly.
It's like I don't know what the
beautiful.
hell. What is he doing? None of the other Gungans do that shit.
No. Honestly, he doesn't even look like any of the other Gungans.
Yeah, yeah. He's just, he's fat.
Ah. see here. Oh, this is also on the tangent of Qui-Gon Jinn being just a rogue. Is Qui-Gon Jinn abuses his power with no shame. He does this multiple times. He does the trick on Boss Nass like 3 times, and then he tries it on Watto a couple of times.
Yeah. He just doesn't want to fuck around and just get it over. Let's get this shit over with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the droidicas are really cool, even though they're so easily destroyed.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, that's the thing about the prequels is everything looks so cool, but it's like, for instance, like with General Grievous, one of the coolest looking characters, but he's just a coward and pathetic.
Yeah.
The droidicas, it's like cool looking but simple.
Mm-hmm. So Jar Jar. I have this memory. Back when we had, before we got a DVD player, we had a VCR, and so we had the Phantom Menace on a VHS tape. And I specifically remember me and my sister just laughing our asses off. We'd be watching the movie, and when we get to the part where Jar Jar says "excuse me," we would rewind it and just keep playing that scene over and over again, and just be like bent over laughing so hard. Oh, that was good times.
Goes to show that Star Wars is meant for kids, especially the
Yeah,
prequels. Even though there's a lot of heavy politics in the prequels.
yeah. That's every time that stuff popped up, it just bored the hell out of me, and it still does. It's like I can deal with it now because it's like you're watching the Palpatine pulling the strings from behind the scenes and a lot of it, but as a kid, it was just like, ugh, it's fucking boring. I feel like the news channel came on, they're showing real life politics, and like as a kid, you just see a bunch of people in suits just debating shit, and it's boring. It's like put the
Exactly.
cartoons back on already.
I want to see the lightsabers. Yeah, that's the thing. Is it's like with the tone of at least the first 2 of the prequels. You can argue for the third one is the tone is kind of weird and inconsistent. There's times where it feels like straight up like comedy, and then it kind of and then it's not. But it also has the weird same like cheesiness. It's very strange, the execution of everything, from the way that actors are to the way the scenes go to the CGI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, when they get to this, I had to look at and laugh at. When they got at the Gungan City, like Captain Tarple shows up and is like, "Jar Jar, what the fuck are you doing here?" He says, and it's like how Jar Jar speaks. He says, "Heyo Deos, Captain Tarples," and it's like it sounds more like "Heyo Daddy, Captain Tarples," and just like as a kid, I just assumed that was his father, even though it's not.
Damn.
I don't know if it's the canon comic at this point or what, but there is a comic where Jar Jar's father actually tried to kill himself because he was so ashamed of Jar Jar's stupidity. And it's like I understand. I relate to you.
Isn't there also a comic where he like it's after everything and he's just like a street clown?
I don't know if that was a comic. I know it was a book for sure, but I could be wrong. But yeah, it's like people like just like mock him because he's like, you're the one that basically got all this shit started because you gave Palpatine his supreme powers, like, 20 years ago, and look what he did.
Yes,
Jar Jar is the key to all of this.
it's true.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Get out of here, George Lucas.
Oh, how did you guess it was me?
Because you're saying positive things about Jar Jar.
All right, you go ahead with something.
Okay, let me run my notes out. Angels exist in Star Wars? Question mark. And if so, do they act the same as angels in our mythology or in our religious beliefs? Blanket.
What?
Sorry, sorry.
No,
I tried to.
what was the first bit you said? I blacked out.
Totally fine. Angels do so Anakin he does that cheesy line and he mentions angels. And that made me curious if angels operate the same way that they are supposed to operate in our world,
Mm,
allegedly.
I think it's something like it's considering they're on the moons of Viego or something. I think it's
Mhm.
probably just an alien species, but like some people are just like, oh my god, they're beautiful. They must be angels or something, and they just call them that.
Uh,
I don't know. That's something we'll have to Google sometime.
mhm.
So, I think it's very ironic that like Boss Nass, when they're what you were talking about earlier, saying like, the Naboo, they're a bunch of dumbasses, and immediately gets mind tricked by Qui-Gon Jinn, which mind tricks only work on the weak-minded. So that's funny.
That is. Let's see. Okay, coming up next, I kind of made this one just a really broad one. Watto.
Oh, okay.
Just
Interesting note.
yeah. I wanted to start a discussion on him because I don't know, this may sound like I'm being preachy or something, but I'm really not. If you just pay attention, like pretty much every race in the prequels has some sort of like real world stereotype behind them.
Yeah, think of like Jar Jar specifically, but Gungans by extension are like supposed to be like Jamaican or something. Or at least that's part of it. It might be something more. I think the
It,
Neomodians are supposed to be like Chinese or something.
mhm.
And then I can't think of any other on the top of my head.
Well, Watto's supposed to be like a Middle Eastern, like yeah, it's there's some weird shit that goes on with that. It's like
Yeah, it's hard to unsee
it,
it once you know it. But
mhm.
I mean, I still kind of just tune it out when I watch the movies. It's just like unless something specific happens, and I'm like, wow, that's a little too on the nose.
Right.
But it's like, yeah.
It's a work of George Lucas after all. He made Temple of Doom, and I feel like that should just speak for itself. I don't even need to
So
go further on that.
it's I do want to say something though. It's kind of weird. So it's like you get the Neomodians who are either Chinese or like Asian based. So it's like, but you also have human Asians in the Star Wars universe. So it's like you have aliens that are acting like other species almost.
Mhm.
Like, how'd that work? I mean, granted, I don't think there. I don't know. I don't remember if there were any Asian people in the original trilogy or the prequels, but there were definitely some in the sequels.
Mhm.
But it's like I've only just rewatched The Phantom Menace. I don't recall seeing any Asian people in there.
Hmm.
You had like mostly white people and then like the one black guy.
Yes.
And I think that was it.
we're talking about the real original trilogy, there's also that guy who's running with the ice cream maker.
Well, I'm talking Phantom specifically.
Oh, Phantom Menace. Yeah, there's that one guy, and then there's also the bodyguard of Padme.
Yeah,
Or is that?
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's literally the only guy.
Oh, there's also another one that talks amongst the delegates, if I remember correctly. Or am I mixing him up with
Uh,
someone else?
oh no, I don't know about that scene. I just kind of like blanked out at that scene because it was boring.
Yeah.
But there might be some in the Senate, but it's like they're like blink and you'll miss them, literally. I'm talking like characters who actually do something. At least the ice cream man does something. He's on a mission to save the ice cream.
Mm-hmm. Very worthwhile mission.
Uh,
Ice cream.
all right. So next, as they escape, I find it funny. All the astromechs get blown up except R2 because obviously R2 has plot armor, but it's like, but why? Could he have at least gotten damaged? Could there have been another droid to survive? It's so funny to me that all other droids got blown up except him.
R2 and C3PO have the absolute best luck in the galaxy.
Exactly. Let's see. Okay, so this is an extended one. So at some point between when they were getting on, I guess once they got on the ship, Padme switched with her doppelganger servant to like swap. Doppelganger is actually played by Keira Knightley, who was Elizabeth Swann in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and she's in. I haven't watched it like fully, but one of the 5 million Pride and Prejudice adaptation movies. So once they're on the ship, they get R2 back. She orders Padme specifically to clean up R2. It's like, obviously, Padme can't say no because it'd be like, how dare you disobey the Queen's orders? So it's like, she totally did that on purpose because it's like, if I gotta be your bodyguard, you're gonna fucking get your hands dirty.
Mm-hmm.
And
Gotta do my job.
Then later, once they are on Tatooine, she specifically orders Padme to go with Qui-Gon. It's like, are you fucking crazy? You're sending her out into there could be a threat out there or something. I mean, there's an argument to be made. Maybe she shouldn't stay on the very recognizable Rome ship in the middle of the desert where she could just get blown up. But I do think the assassin, well, not actually, Maul's not an assassin, but if they were thinking someone would kill her, like they're going to make sure they got her. They need to verify that they actually got the target. But still.
Darth Maul's dumb.
How so?
Oh no, that's why he was just not able to identify that.
Well, he probably wasn't. He probably would have been directed to get her back so she'd sign the treaty, and that's what they wanted, which is still just kind of a silly thing. It's like, why not just have her assassinated and replaced? I feel like that'd been a lot easier. The only reason that doesn't happen is because Padme needed to survive the prequels. Well, mostly.
Mostly. Needed to survive up to a certain point.
Yeah. All right, go ahead with more notes because I got shit tons more.
Okay, so we this is one of my last ones. Jake Lloyd. Jake Lloyd's performance.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because he's a kid, so you can't really say anything that it's like
I mean,
too damning.
Granted, there are better kid actors, but I'd like to say it's literally just this was directed by George Lucas. He was surrounded by yes men, do whatever he wanted. Whereas in the original trilogy, he had people saying, "Hey, don't do this. This is stupid. Let's make this better." And yeah, there's other better kid actors. I personally think Anakin should have been more like 14, 15. It would have been they would have had to have a different kid do it. But it would have had him, I don't know, a little more older. Oh, but knowing George Lucas, he would have just made Anakin an angsty teen. So, I don't know. Would it have been better? Who knows?
So why do you think that he should have been older?
I think it just would have been better. So, like, he'd be more closer to Padme's age. So it wouldn't be like, she's like, oh, here's a 9-year-old. Nice. I mean, she isn't really like that, but it's part of the memes. Also, it being a little bit closer to Luke's age would have made more sense because it's like how they brought Anakin in and they were just like, oh, he's too old to start the training, and it's like he's 9 years old. Granted, yeah, most Jedi actually start their training from like infancy, but it's just like, yeah, but and like they say it's to like, oh, so like they won't be by the dark side. Well, yeah, it doesn't really work. There's so many Jedi that got tempted by the dark side anyways. It's just like, yeah, but that's the problem. That's like why all the Jedi were just thinking they were like these holy warriors or something, because they were literally brainwashed from childhood. Versus being like almost in your teen years, and yeah, you might be more difficult to train, but like at least you have something of a functioning brain at that point.
Right.
So, and I love Anakin's comp with Qui-Gon. He's just like, you realize Qui-Gon was a Jedi and all, and like, it's like, oh, I saw your laser sword, and Qui-Gon's like, well, what if maybe I killed a Jedi and took it? And Anakin's like, no one can kill a Jedi. He's like, oh, just you wait, Anakin, because in 2 movies, you're gonna kill a lot of them.
Young Anakin, in an hour or so, I will prove you wrong by dying.
Yeah, exactly.
He died just to spite Anakin.
Exactly.
He's like, listen here, you little shit.
Yeah. Another fun one was I think they're getting ready to leave and whatever, and I forget what it was related to. I think it was like the betting the money on the pod race or whatever, and Padme is like, the Queen will not approve of this. And Qui-Gon's like, the Queen doesn't need to know. It's like, buddy, you're talking to the Queen without knowing. Which is funny, is like somehow their senses didn't pick that up, which is amusing.
The senses. I wonder.
Yeah.
Plot convenience, or if we're going all super lore and like theory wise, we could say that Palpatine's masking of the Force threw them off, that they couldn't even sense that.
I don't know. I don't think he was doing.
I don't know.
I'd like
I'm trying
to
to apply logic to a flawed piece of work.
Yeah, I'd like to think maybe Qui-Gon like kind of always knew, and just kept his mouth shut. But it's just Obi-Wan that just didn't pick up on it because he looked more confused. Qui-Gon, when it got revealed, he just like was smirking the whole time. Like, I think Obi-Wan was just like, "What the fuck?" And I mean, I think he also started smirking or something. But oh, and the best part, midi-chlorians. They're just introduced as a plot device just so they can say, "Wow, Anakin has a higher force potential than even Yoda." And they're never
we have to make him important somehow.
again.
Right.
I mean, actually, I think they're mentioned probably in one of the other two prequels, but yeah, like after that, it still just kind of effectively disappears. All right, so next, Qui-Gon influencing the dice roll with the Force. It ends up becoming a catalyst that just destroys the entire galaxy. So, like, if he only knew.
If only.
Here's
Qui-Gon,
another. Go ahead.
Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan basically just set up the entire fate of the galaxy by just having a sit down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a little bit of the pod race. I think it could have been better, but I don't know. I kind of like it. I do wish it was longer, but like a little more intense in the action. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it still just kind of drags on too long, and it's not as exciting. But I don't know. Still amusing. I do remember an arcade game that was like you drove a pod racer, and it was amusing. So I was like, yeah, maybe they'll make a VR game at some point for like all 5 people that own VR headsets.
There's an N64 pod racing game, and you can play as all the other characters in the pod race.
Yeah, isn't that hang on, where is it? Oh yeah, Super Bombad Racing.
On the N64?
No, this is an N64, but I'm pretty sure it's also on there. But that's what you're talking about. I own it. So
Big question mark.
yeah.
It's been a while since I've had an N64.
Yeah, also Jabba oversees the pod race. There's a slave girl there that's wearing the same bikini that Princess Leia will wear in 36 years, so I guess Jabba really has a thing for that space bikini.
Let's hope he washed it.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
Who knows what happened to her.
Mm-hmm.
After Anakin wins the pod race, Shmi tells Anakin he's brought hope to those who have none. I'm just like, how? By winning space NASCAR?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, the best thing I can think of is just like because he's like the only human to have done it. But it's like, yeah, but no one else can really hope to do that. They don't. He can only do it because he's force sensitive. So that's it. The whole goodbye scene between Anakin and Shmi is like 2 minutes. I think it should have been longer with some more emotion. Anakin just seems to act like a kid who's being sent to Home Depot with his dad, but really he just wants to stay home with his mom.
Mm-hmm.
So
Truly. What would be the space Home Depot of the Star Wars galaxy?
probably just Home Depot. It actually exists in the Star Wars universe, and just then it emigrated to Earth. And who knows? I also think the first duel with Maul should have been longer than like 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would have been better to have had Kenobi be the one face Maul. Like, he'd be more inexperienced. Qui-Gon would have been like sitting there trying to protect Anakin. This would have Kenobi versus Maul would have tied in Rebels even better because their first encounter would have been on Tatooine at day, and their final one would have been at night.
Mm.
So like that would have played cool. Also, the fact that Qui-Gon be like protecting this kid, this random kid that's like with them and like the Queen and everything. Like Maul would have gone back and reported that to Palpatine. That could have been like how Palpatine first heard of him, because he probably would have looked in to Tatooine and heard like this human kid just won the pod racing, be like, how the fuck did this kid do this? It's not humans don't have fast enough reflexes, and he would have probably put two and two together. The kid must be force sensitive, and been like, interesting. Like, I think that would have just tied together really well. However, what we ended up with is they get to Coruscant, Palpatine's waiting on the deck and basically pissing himself with joy at probably sensing Anakin, approaching, like the sheer force potential of that kid.
Mm-hmm.
And here we go. This is they get on the transport, and Jar Jar makes a comment about the Queen being hot, and she's the same age as Padme, 14, and Jar Jar's 20, so this makes Jar Jar the first space pedophile.
You heard it here, folks. Cancel Jar Jar.
Yeah.
Hashtag cancel Jar
Jar.
So on a serious note, I feel like if we're talking about just like the movie in general, since we've kind of reached the end point with like the plot, I feel like if the movie got rid of the talking points, or at least made them shorter, made just everything else a little longer, because it feels like they try to throw in so much at once so he can set the story up for the second and the third one. That's like so much is like happening so fast that you don't get to process it. But then it's like, then there's scenes where it's just so slow, you're just like, I'm not paying attention anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And so my next thing, it's funny, Padme can't wait for the Senate to have a debate and send a commission to like verify like, oh, some bullshit's happening over here on Naboo. However, a galaxy-wide election for the replacing the chancellor is somehow accomplished faster than a simple debate. It's like you have elections in the United States, like they go on. It's like 1 or 2 days, and we have the results, which I honestly think. I think people could wait like a week or so we could really make sure we're counting everything correctly. Because like it's just done way too fast, in my opinion. It's literally like you go to bed, you wake up, and like whoever won is announced. It's just like, how do you people count so fast? But other stuff takes months and months of debating to just get like one little law put in. I think that's just ridiculous. And the same thing here. This is galaxy wide, so every planet in the Republic systems has to vote for this. It's like, how did they do this in like mere hours? So Padme could like be appeased. It don't make no sense. That honestly, counting votes, that many votes in a galaxy, like would probably take like fucking months. Even you got space travel and shit, like they can't just beam all the radio signals across. Like you have to like bounce signals from planet to planet to get them to where you gotta go. I don't know. It feels like that should have taken way longer, but I mean, they're not gonna do that because otherwise we'd be like waiting till episode 2 to find out that Palpatine was elected. So like it's just done for plot convenience to get it over with, but yeah.
Yeah, something tells me the Republic isn't built to last.
Yeah.
Something's just telling me. I can't tell you what. I don't know. It's just a feeling.
Yeah. We'll have to watch the other movies, which we definitely haven't watched before.
No, not at all.
The lightsaber duel. I think.
Fuck.
Hang on. The lightsaber duel. Imagine how fast this would have ended if they had just sent some more Jedi to deal with it. It's like it's been 1,000 years or something since they saw the last Sith, and suddenly a new one pops up. Like, maybe this is a good time to like send multiple top tier Jedi to like, let's make sure. Let's take this guy out. Did they
Nope.
send like the one guy that like goes against everything they have to say and a Padawan? Like, you guys got this.
It's like they're trying to kill them both.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't like you guys.
Yeah. Like, imagine the doors open, Maul's just like been standing there for like 10 minutes waiting, and just like there's Qui-Gon, Kenobi, Mace Windu, Yoda, like fucking all of them, and he's just like, I'm out of here. It's like they
just
did
zooms
destroy
up
him.
on this. Yeah, they will have just fucking wrecked him. It just zooms up on his face. He just says, "Oh fuck!" Credits roll.
Exactly. I do like after Qui-Gon's been mortally wounded, like Obi-Wan just flies into rage, and it's like so different from like Obi-Wan even in the next movie where he's like fairly calm. So he goes from this, really, he's enraged because his master's been killed, and then later on he's a very calm and reasonable person.
Mm-hmm. He very much learned from his mistakes.
Yeah. So it's great also to watch his character development over like the next, the films and shows and everything, especially the Kenobi series, which we did an episode on that, so you can check that out. Qui-Gon's funeral is very sad. It also mirrors Anakin's own funeral, which is only 36 years away. Except there's only going to be one person attending it.
Mm-hmm.
And for my last note, this is a little fun fact. The celebration theme that plays at the end with the parade is actually Palpatine's theme from Episode 6, but it's sped up and it's made to sound more triumphant. That's really fucking cool, actually.
That is. That's some major foreshadowing.
Yeah. Creepy, but cool.
Yeah. Foreshadow. There's I will say one thing definitely. Here's the world building. He does a good job with that. Like,
oh yeah,
there's a lot of really interesting stuff, and like Naboo looks beautiful. Like, you have the city, you have all that, and like Coruscant looks cool, and like the building up of that and the story behind it's just the execution of everything is where it comes into play, where it's like wrong and kind of flawed.
Yeah. Even though all the worlds are basically just, okay, this is a planet, but it's all lava. This is a planet, but it's all city. This is a planet, but it's all very cold. It's just everything's just a different biome, and it's like Earth. You almost gotta wonder if Earth, if they could get to Earth or something, like within the Star Wars universe, if they'd be baffled. Like, this one planet has like all the biomes that most of our planets have, but it's all different planets in our galaxy. So amusing, I guess.
And then they discover Disney Plus, and they're like, "Wait, what?"
You do have to assume, though, that eventually some humans from like every race or whatever had like found Earth, and then they colonized it and whatever, and then George Lucas somehow gets like not prophecies, he senses through the Force and creates the Star Wars movies. He senses the story or something, but he doesn't even know he's Force sensitive.
Whoa.
Also,
watch out, everybody.
Yeah, this is one thing I didn't write, but I was thinking of is I don't think Qui-Gon should have died in this movie, because if they don't have Anakin as teenager, where if they did this, it would have worked much better. I I think if they had had Qui-Gon live, maybe he got like badly injured or something. Maybe he gets a mechanical arm or something, which could have been like neat foreshadowing for Anakin. And have him like die to Dooku in the second movie. And like maybe he's tagged along for the whole movie. That would have been a really good catalyst for Anakin to like start going dark, because it's like basically it would have been the equivalent of his father being killed right in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have he'd start like blaming the Jedi for it, and that could have had somewhere where he would just break away from them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been interesting. Also, it'd be interesting to see how his relationship with Ahsoka would have developed if he was already on like a dark side from the get-go. Whereas he's actually kind of a fairly chill guy, but he does pick up Qui-Gon's qualities of like just breaking the rules when he feels like it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I've got to say about the Phantom Menace.
And that's all I got to say about the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, like all 5 notes that you had.
All 5 notes. I create like base notes, and then everything else is freeform.
All right, well, we'll see you in the next episode, whatever that's going to be.
All right, well, goodbye, everybody.
May the Force be with you.